Hi, I'm Corinne. On the night I turned 30, I stood in my mother's kitchen, holding a casserole dish. I'd spent 3 hours preparing, and my sister looked me dead in the eye and said, "Oh, you're still here? We already ordered Thai." 14 people in that house. 14 place settings on the long oak table my father built before he died. Not one of them was for me. The chair where I usually sat had been pushed against the wall to make room for my brother-in-law's golf buddy, a man whose name I still don't know. How do you celebrate a birthday no one remembered to celebrate? You don't. You set the casserole on the counter, you smile like it doesn't burn, and you drive home with the windows down because the cold air is the only honest thing you've felt all night. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that morning. A Tuesday in late October, Nashville just starting to shiver. I woke up to my cat, Pepper, kneading the blanket near my shoulder like she was trying to iron out the wrinkles in my life. I scratched behind her ears and whispered, "Happy birthday to us," because 3 years ago, I'd adopted her on my 27th birthday, and we'd been splitting milestones ever since. She purred. That was more acknowledgement than I'd get from my family for the rest of the day, but I didn't know that yet. I worked a half day at the pediatric clinic where I'm a nurse. 12-hour shifts most weeks, the kind that leave your feet aching and your heart full in uneven measure. My coworker Janelle had taped a balloon to my locker with a note that said, "30 looks good on you, girl." I tucked it into my bag. Small thing, but I kept it. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Mom. My chest did that hopeful little jump it always does. That stupid, stubborn reflex that hasn't learned anything in 30 years. I opened the message. Running behind on dinner prep. Can you bring that sweet potato casserole your dad used to love? And pick up 2 bottles of Pinot on your way. The good kind. No happy birthday. No mention of the occasion at all. Just an errand list dressed up as a text message. I stared at the screen for a while. Pepper jumped onto the counter, which she's not supposed to do, and sat on my phone like she was trying to protect me from it. Smart cat. I told myself it was fine. Mom was busy. She'd say it at dinner. She always forgot the small stuff but came through when it counted. That's the story I'd been telling myself for years, editing out the scenes that didn't fit, cutting around the silences like a film editor who's too close to the project. I made the casserole. Dad's recipe. The one written on the back of an envelope in handwriting so messy only I could decode it. Sweet potatoes, brown sugar, a little bourbon, pecans on top. The kitchen smelled like him for an hour, and I let myself pretend he was just in the other room watching the Titans game, waiting to steal a bite before it was done. I bought the wine. The good kind, like she asked. $42 a bottle. I drove to Mom's house on the east side of Nashville, the one I'd been helping pay for since Dad passed 4 years ago. Not the mortgage itself that was paid off, but the property taxes, the water heater replacement, the new roof after the storm in March. I kept a running tab in my head, though I'd never been rude enough to say it out loud. Somewhere north of $11,000 over 4 years. I wasn't counting. Except I was. You always count when no one else does. The driveway was packed. My sister Margot's white SUV was there, parked at that careless diagonal she always does, taking up 2 spots like the world owed her extra space. Next to it, my brother Donovan's truck, still carrying the custom tool chest I'd helped him finance 8 months ago when he said business was slow at the contracting company. There were 2 other cars I didn't recognize. I balanced the casserole on one hip and knocked with my free hand. Nobody came. I could hear music inside, glasses clinking, laughter. I knocked again. Then I just walked in. The house smelled like lemongrass and ginger. The Thai food was already spread across the counter in those neat little white containers with the metal handles. 14 place settings on the long oak table Dad built. Spring rolls, pad see ew, green curry. Enough to feed a small army. Mom was in the living room holding a glass of wine. Not the Pinot I bought. A different bottle telling a story to Margot's husband, Greg, and 2 women I'd never seen before. She was wearing her good earrings, the ones she saves for occasions. I set the casserole down next to the Thai containers. Nobody turned. "Hey," I said. Mom glanced over her shoulder. "Oh, Corinne, good. Set that anywhere. We're almost ready to sit down." That was it. Set that anywhere. Like I was the catering service. Margot appeared from the hallway, phone in hand, wearing a new dress I'd seen her post about on Instagram the week before. She looked at me, then at the casserole, and that's when she said it. "Oh, you're still here? We already ordered Thai." I waited. For someone, anyone, to laugh and say, "Just kidding." For Mom to step in and say, "Stop it, Margot. It's her birthday." For Donovan, who was leaning against the doorframe eating a spring roll, to even make eye contact. Nothing. I scanned the table. 14 settings. I counted the people in the house. Mom, Margot, Greg, Donovan, his girlfriend Tanya, Uncle Phil, Aunt Renee, Greg's golf buddy, and 5 others I was slowly recognizing as Margot's book club friends. That was 13. The 14th setting had a little place card on it. I walked over and picked it up. Heather M., Margot's college roommate. The 14th seat wasn't empty and waiting for me. It was claimed. There was no 15th plate. No chair against the wall with my name on it. I wasn't late to my own party. I was never on the guest list. I stood there for a moment, holding the place card, like a piece of evidence. Then I put it back, neatly, exactly where it had been. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of the Pinot I'd brought, the $42 bottle, and drank half of it standing at the counter while the laughter continued in the other room. Nobody came to check. Nobody asked me to sit down. My phone buzzed. A text from Donovan's girlfriend Tanya, who I'd always gotten along with. She was 10 feet away from me, but she texted instead of walking over. "Hey, is this awkward? I think they forgot." I looked up from my phone. Tanya was watching me from across the room with the expression of someone who wants to help but doesn't want to make waves. I typed back, "It's fine." Then I deleted it and typed, "Yeah," because honesty was the least I owed myself on my own birthday. I finished the wine, washed the glass, dried it, and set it back in the cabinet. Then I did something I'd never done before. I picked up the casserole dish, still warm, still full, still smelling like my father, and I carried it out the front door without saying goodbye. Nobody followed me. I drove home with the casserole on the passenger seat, and Pepper waiting at the door when I got back, like she'd been counting the minutes. I set the dish on the counter and sat on the kitchen floor, legs crossed, back against the cabinet, and let her climb into my lap. She pressed her forehead against my chin in that slow, deliberate way she does when she knows something's wrong. "It's just us, Pep," I said. She purred. It was enough. It wasn't until 11 p.m. that the first text came. Not happy birthday. Not sorry you left. It was from Margot. "You left your wine. Want me to bring it over tomorrow?" She didn't even realize it was my birthday. The wine was the only thing she noticed was missing. I turned off my phone and went to bed. Pepper curled up behind my knees. Outside, Nashville hummed with the lives of people who belonged somewhere. The next morning, I did what I always do when I'm hurt. I organized. It's a nurse thing, maybe. When the world gets chaotic, you chart, you document, you find the pattern. I opened a spreadsheet on my laptop and started typing. Not to prove anything to anyone, just to see the shape of what I'd been ignoring. Property taxes. Mom's house $3,200 annually for 4 years. Water heater $1,800. Roof repair $4,100. Donovan's tool chest financing $2,400. Margot's wedding catering deposit when her card declined $1,600. Emergency vet bill for mom's dog $900. Grocery runs, just this once that turned into every other week, roughly $200 a month for 2 years. The total settled on the screen like a verdict. $22,600. $22,600. And a casserole. I sat back and stared at the number. Pepper jumped onto the desk and walked across the keyboard, adding a row of gibberish to the spreadsheet. I left it there. It made about as much sense as anything else. I wasn't angry. That's what surprised me. Anger would have felt purposeful, like fuel. This was quieter, more like the moment a bone finally sets after being broken wrong for years. It hurt, but it was correct. My phone had been off since the night before. When I turned it back on, the notifications rolled in like a slow tide. 3 texts from Mom, none mentioning my birthday. "Did you take the casserole dish?" "Corinne, that dish belongs here. Your father made it for this kitchen. Call me when you get this." One from Donovan. Mom says you took a dish? Can you just bring it back and stop making things weird? Nothing from Margot. Radio silence from the woman who ate Thai food in my birthday seat. I read each message carefully, the way I read patient charts at work. Looking for what's written, looking harder for what isn't. Nowhere in any text did anyone say my name with warmth. Nowhere did anyone ask how I was, where I went, or why I left early. The casserole dish held more value to them than I did. I closed the messages and opened Instagram. Bad idea, but I've never been good at resisting bad ideas when I'm already stinging. Margot's profile. A new post from last night, 10:47 p.m. The photo was warm, golden, everyone squeezed together around the oak table with glasses raised. Mom was in the center, laughing. Donovan had his arm around Tanya. Greg was mid-bite. The Thai containers were scattered like props. The caption, "Nothing beats a spontaneous family dinner. These are the moments that matter." I zoomed in on the background. On the counter, just barely visible behind Uncle Phil's elbow, was my casserole dish. Empty. They'd eaten every bite. They ate Dad's recipe at a dinner I wasn't welcome at, and called it spontaneous. Spontaneous. Like I hadn't been asked to bring it. Like it hadn't been planned around my birthday. Like I was the one who hadn't shown up. I closed the app. Then I opened it again and took a screenshot. I don't know why. Maybe the same reason nurses document everything. Proof that what happened actually happened. Because sometimes the people who hurt you will spend the rest of their lives telling a different story. The call from Mom came on Thursday, 2 days after my birthday, during my lunch break at the clinic. I almost didn't answer, but 30 years of conditioning is hard to override in 48 hours, so I picked up. "Corinne, we need to talk about Tuesday." "Okay." You left without saying anything. That was rude. I let the word sit there. Rude. The woman who didn't wish me a happy birthday, who gave my seat away, who ate my casserole, and posted about it like it was her idea, was calling me rude. It was my birthday, Mom. Silence. A long one. Then, "I know that. You didn't say it." "I was going to. At dinner. But you left before we even sat down. There was no seat for me." Another pause. I could hear her breathing, that quick, shallow pattern she does when she's recalculating her position. That was an oversight. Margot invited a few extra people last minute. We were going to pull up a chair. A folding chair. "Don't be dramatic, Corinne." There it was. The family slogan, stamped across every conversation where I tried to be honest. Don't be dramatic. Don't make it about you. Don't feel so much. The message was always the same. Your feelings are inconvenient, and the kindest thing you can do for this family is to stop having them. "I'm not being dramatic," I said slowly. "I'm being accurate. You asked me to bring food and wine to my own birthday dinner, and when I got there, you hadn't saved me a place. That's not an oversight. That's a message." She hung up. No goodbye, no rebuttal. Just the click, and then the silence that always follows when the truth enters a room where it wasn't invited. 2 weeks later, I logged into the joint savings account Mom had set up when Dad passed. It was supposed to be the family emergency fund, but over the years, it had become something else entirely, a communal wallet that only opened one way. I deposited. They withdrew. I clicked through the transaction history and felt my stomach drop. October 14th. 2 weeks before my birthday. A withdrawal of $1,400. Memo line. Dinner supplies plus decor. I blinked. $1,400 for Thai food and table settings? I scrolled further. Another withdrawal the same day. $600. Memo. Giftee. I knew what D meant. Donovan. I pulled up Margot's Instagram again and scrolled back to her story highlights. There, posted the morning after my birthday, was a boomerang of Donovan opening a box. Inside, a brand new cordless drill set, high-end, the kind he'd been bookmarking for months. The caption, "Early Christmas present for the best brother." They'd used the emergency fund money I'd contributed most of to buy dinner for a party I wasn't invited to, and a gift for a brother who still owed me $2,400. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I pulled up the account settings and quietly removed my name from the joint access. Then I transferred the remaining balance, $318, the ghost of what used to be 4,000 into my personal savings. I drafted an email to Mom, short, polite. The kind of email you write when you've practiced being professional your whole life, and it finally pays off in the worst way. I've removed myself from the joint account effective immediately. Please do not add my name to any shared financial accounts going forward. If there are questions, you can reach me by email. I hit send. Then I closed the laptop and picked up Pepper, who had been watching the whole thing from the windowsill like a tiny, furry auditor. "We're done, Pep," I said. She blinked slowly, which in cat language is basically a standing ovation. The fallout came faster than I expected. By Friday evening, my phone had 17 missed calls. 11 from Mom, 4 from Donovan, 2 from Margot, which might be a personal record for her caring about something I did. The voicemails followed a predictable arc. Mom's were a descent from irritation to guilt-tripping to martyrdom. "You're tearing this family apart. Your father would be ashamed. After everything I've sacrificed." Donovan's were shorter, blunter. "What the hell, Corinne? Mom's freaking out. Just put the money back and stop being petty." Margot left one voicemail, 11 seconds long. "Call Mom. She's upset. This isn't about you. This isn't about you. On the night I found out my birthday dinner was funded with my own money. This isn't about you." I didn't return any of the calls. Instead, I sat on my balcony with Pepper on my lap and a cup of tea that was too hot to drink, and I watched the Nashville skyline do what it does best, glow without asking for permission. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't bracing for impact. I wasn't rehearsing apologies for feelings I was allowed to have. I was just sitting still, and the world kept turning anyway. Saturday morning, I found a manila envelope wedged under my apartment door. No stamp, no return address. Hand delivered. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a printed copy of my father's will, the original, with a section highlighted in yellow. To my daughter Corinne, the oak dining table in the family home, built by my own hand, and the contents of the workshop in the garage, inclusive of all woodworking tools and materials. I'd known about this. I'd read the will when Dad passed, but I'd never claimed any of it because Mom asked me to wait. "Let the dust settle," she said. "We'll figure it out when the time is right." The time never seemed to come. On the back of the page, someone had written in blue pen, "This was supposed to go to Donovan. Mom already promised it to him. Don't make this harder than it has to be." No signature, but I recognized Margot's handwriting. The same hand that used to write me birthday cards in elementary school. The same hand that now wrote notes trying to redirect my inheritance. I placed the paper on the kitchen table and smoothed it flat. Pepper sniffed the corner of it and walked away, unimpressed. Good instinct. I didn't call anyone. I didn't text. I took a photo of the page, front and back, and emailed it to myself with the subject line, "For the record." Then I looked up estate attorneys in Nashville and sent 3 inquiry emails before noon. It took 1 week. 1 consultation, 1 review of the will, 1 polite but firm letter from my attorney to my mother, and the table was mine. Donovan called me the day after the letter arrived. His voice wasn't angry. It was something worse, confused, like a child who just learned the rules apply to him too. "You're really doing this? Over a table?" "It's not about the table, Donovan." "Then what's it about?" "It's about the fact that every time something was mine, someone in this family decided it should be theirs instead. The table, the money, the seat at dinner, my birthday." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "You're blowing this out of proportion." "Maybe. But at least I'll have the table." He hung up. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel sad. I felt clear. Like windshield wipers, after a storm. Not perfect, but functional. Able to see the road. The table arrived on a Thursday, carried by 2 movers who set it down in my living room with the careful reverence of men who could tell it meant something. It was heavier than I remembered. Darker too. The oak aged into a deep amber from years of Sunday dinners and holiday arguments and spilled glasses of wine. I ran my hand across the surface and found what I was looking for, the small carved C in the corner, hidden under where the tablecloth always sat. Dad had done it when I was 7. "That's your spot," he'd said. "Wherever this table goes, that's where you belong." I set 2 places. 1 for me, 1 for Pepper, who wouldn't use it but deserved the gesture. I made Dad's casserole the real one, not the version I'd carried into a house that didn't want me. I lit a candle. I ate slowly, deliberately, tasting every bite like it was the first time. Pepper sat on the chair across from me, paws tucked, eyes half closed. The apartment was quiet, except for the sound of my fork against the plate and the distant hum of the city outside. It wasn't lonely. It was intentional. After dinner, I opened my laptop and started a new document. Not a letter, not a spreadsheet. Something else. Things I no longer carry. The belief that showing up means you'll be welcomed. The idea that generosity earns you a seat. The hope that if you just try harder, they'll notice. The habit of making yourself smaller so others feel tall. The guilt of choosing yourself after years of choosing them. I read it back once, then saved it in a folder called Mine. Because that's what it was. Mine. Not theirs, not the family's, not up for negotiation. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and silence, and the weight of pepper curled against my ribs. I didn't reach for my phone. I made coffee, the strong kind I used to hide when guests came over, because Mom said it was too much. I drank it black, standing on the balcony, barefoot. My phone buzzed from the bedroom. I let it. Whatever it said, it could wait. For the first time in 30 years, I wasn't on anyone's schedule but my own. When I finally checked, there was one new text. From Tanya. I told Donovan what I saw that night. The missing seat. The way no one said happy birthday. He got quiet. I don't know if it'll change anything, but I needed you to know someone saw it. I read it twice. Then I held the phone to my chest for a moment, not because the message fixed anything, but because it confirmed what I'd been afraid to believe, that I wasn't making it up, that the invisible girl wasn't invisible to everyone. I texted back, "Thank you. That means more than you know." Then I put the phone down, picked up the book. I'd been meaning to finish a collection of essays about women who rebuilt their lives from quiet wreckage, and I sat at my father's table with my cat and my coffee, and the whole morning ahead of me. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel lost. I felt like someone who had finally stopped knocking on a door that was never going to open and built a window instead. And for the first time in a long time, the light came through. Sometimes walking away from your family doesn't mean you stopped loving them. It means you finally started loving yourself enough to stop waiting for a seat that was never yours. You pull up your own chair. You set your own table. And you eat the meal you made with your own hands, in a room that knows your name. If you've ever felt like the invisible one in your own family, the one who gives and gives and gets a folding chair in return, I want you to know your story matters. Your seat matters. And you don't owe anyone a casserole they won't even thank you for. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to walk away from people you loved just to find yourself? Where are you watching from tonight? And if this story made you feel something, drop a heart or tell me why. Every voice is welcome here. Subscribe if you believe in healing, in strength, and in stories that tell the truth even when it's hard. There's more to come, and I'd love for you to be here for it.